Hey guys, it's Jamie. Welcome back or to my channel if you are new. Today's video is going to be random things that are hard for dyslexics, specifically me, but if you are dyslexic, I hope you can relate to this. Okay, the first thing that you might not think that would be hard for people with dyslexia is texting, because you know you probably type really fast and it's really easy for you to get messages off, but for me it takes a lot longer, and like a lot of my friends know that it just takes me a little bit longer to respond. And I also use like voice to text, and now something interesting about voice to text is Apple like updated it so that it does like proper grammar and punctuation, and that is not how I like type normally. So my texting is either like perfect punctuation when I voice to text, or like my normal typing that takes me forever if I actually like spell everything out. But also something that's really annoying is if I use voice to text and I don't know if it's spelled correctly, or like if there's like different variations of words, I don't know if it used the right one. And so yeah, it's just something really annoying that most people don't have to deal with. Next one is probably really obvious, but that is reading and spelling. So specifically for like reading, like obviously I can read like most things, but just like actually sitting down and like reading a book would literally take me forever, which is like really ironic since I like listen to all of these books. But that's also something that's really annoying, is like people think that audiobooks, well, not all people, but some people believe that audiobooks aren't real reading, and having to like defend myself constantly gets really tiring. Or on the other side, we get the really stupid comments when I tell people that I'm dyslexic. They're like, "Oh, can you read?" I'm like, "Yes, Jerry, I can read, just not very well," and it's more mentally exhausting for me. And then on the other side, spelling, basically all of the words I know how to spell I've memorized, which I also think is really funny. I'm not really good at like separating words into smaller parts, like sounding them out. I'm not that great at that. But when I write the words and I'm spelling them wrong, I can tell that it's wrong, but I can't figure out why, and that's like even more frustrating. But yeah. And the next thing kind of along with spelling is like when I'm writing, sometimes when I'm like trying to write a B, I'll write a D, or even like a really random one for me that gets like flipped in my brain is M and W. I have to like double think. I'm like or wah. I have to like rethink what I'm writing before I write it, which is something random that happens to me. Okay, so thing number 3 that is like random is like writing papers. And this might not seem like different than like spelling and stuff, but usually for like writing papers, I like dictate it to my computer, and this sometimes can be frustrating because it doesn't get it right, or I have to like constantly press the like microphone button, and it's just tiring because then I have to make sure it's in the right place or the words are right, like it's hearing me correctly. And so it just makes the process like a little bit longer, and then when I'm like reading it back through, I have to like sometimes remember the big words that I used when I was dictating it and be like, oh, is that like spelled right, or like did I use that correctly? Also, like grammar is really hard for me because I never like sat down like read books, so I like got used to punctuation. So that's like the whole writing process is just harder for me. One is definitely along with spelling, and that is like taking notes, because I can either like listen to the professor or my teacher like talking while I'm like trying to take notes, or I can like write or take notes. Like I can listen or I can take notes. It's one or the other. It's really hard to do both at once. And so usually my notes end up being like not even useful because I don't even know what I was writing because half of it is spelled wrong, or even if it's spelled right, I like can't read it later. The struggle. Okay, this also kind of goes along with spelling, and that is typing, because I am like trying to think of how to spell it and like trying to think where the keys are at the same time. And sometimes like I would be taking like old work, like if I'm like, I wrote my notes and then I have to like type them up, that process is also really difficult because, again, like remembering what I'm writing and then trying to type it and trying to spell it correctly, which now that I can like dictate stuff, that becomes like a little bit easier, but like still typing as a whole struggle in itself. Okay, this one is definitely like a really niche thing, and that is when somebody, like, I get a number from somebody, like they give me their phone number and they're like, they give me their name too, and let's say it's Samantha. I don't know if I know how to spell Samantha. I could probably like try my best, but I'm either like typing it in like partially so that I can fix it later, or like trying to do voice to text of like their name, and that's just like really embarrassing when they're standing right in front of you and you're like, Samantha, into your phone. Like it's just a little embarrassing, and so usually I try to put like something there, and this like came up because I was actually, one of the books I read, the whole like plot of the book was that he didn't put her number in right because he was gonna put it back in later, and it just made me think of this because it really is a very niche struggle, and like some names, obviously, like not all people know how to spell anyway, so like I could just ask, but most like common names that I don't know how to spell, I would just have to do later and like put their first initial or something like that. So yeah, something random I thought. Okay, so these two kind of go together, and that is people not understanding. Like again, the amount of times people are like, oh, can you read, or like, how does this affect you? They're very naive of what dyslexia is. They don't really know much about it, which like is understandable because it's really hard to explain even when you do have it, because it affects like everybody so differently. But so people not understanding is a really annoying thing, that is not hard for me, but just annoying, like, fact of being dyslexic. So that is all of the basic things that are hard for me, as well as just some annoying things that happen to people with dyslexia. If you are dyslexic, let me know in the comments what are some basic things that are hard for you, or some annoying things that people have said about dyslexia. Bye guys, thanks for watching.